Laws of Exponents, Dividing Monomials, Lesson 4.3 Notes. The review is an assignment called 4.3 Multiplying Monomials Notes Review Questions. Go to Schoology, find the assignment, upload it to Notability, complete it in Notability, and resubmit it to Schoology. If you do it that way, the rest of the notes don't show up and it's just the review. So please go do that. Okay. This lesson is on dividing monomials. If you remember, when we multiplied monomials, which was the first lesson we did, when we multiplied, we added the exponents. When multiplying, you add the exponents. So let's do a quick review here. So x to the fifth is x being multiplied 5 times. And x to the third is x being multiplied 3 times. Go ahead and write that down. So if you have x to the fifth times x to the third, if I write that side by side, you get a total of 8 x's. So that's why this becomes x to the 8th. And what we did was we added the exponents. To get x to the 8th, you add the exponents. This lesson is going to be on dividing. Well, again, if when you multiply monomials, you add the exponents, what do you think you're going to do when you divide? Well, let's look at this. We've got x to the 12th divided by x to the 8th. So I'm looking right here, x to the 12th divided by x to the 8th. That means there would be 12 x's in the numerator and 8 x's in the denominator. Go ahead and write that down. Okay, before we divide this out, I want to show you something. You do not need to write this down, just follow along. If I had 5 divided by 5, anything divided by itself is 1. Or if you remember correctly, when we had the 14 pi divided by pi, the pi's canceled one another out. So they would divide out and get 1. And because there's a 14 in the numerator, I don't need to write the 1. The same thing happens when you've got x divided by x. They would cancel one another out. So if I go back to our problem, where I've got 12 x's in the numerator and 8 x's in the denominator, for every x in the denominator, I can cancel with 1 in the numerator. Oops. So those x's would cancel. They would cancel. And I would just keep going. Until I've canceled every x in the denominator. So there were 8 x's in the denominator that canceled with 8 in the numerator, leaving just those 4 x's. So x to the 12th divided by x to the 8th becomes x to the 4th. So in other words, if you look at your exponents over here, x to the 12th and x to the 8th, I get x to the 4th. How would that happen? I subtract. Sorry. In other words, x to the 12 minus 8 is what I would do. 12 minus 8 is 4. So again, when you multiply, you add the exponents. When you divide, you subtract the exponents. So this is the quotient of powers property. This is the quotient of powers property. You want to subtract the exponents. You can only do this if the bases are the same. So your bases must be the same in order to divide. And again, one more time, to divide, you subtract the exponents. The base will stay the same, you subtract the exponents. Pause your video and get all that written down. So one last time, the quotient of powers property means that you will subtract the exponents. If the bases are the same, to divide, you subtract the exponents. If you have any questions on that, let me know.